Luke didn't expect his ship to fall apart in the middle of quiet space. One moment, he was checking sensors, and the next, alarms screamed through the control panel. The engines burst, power flickered, and everything went dark. He tried to send a signal, but nothing worked. All he could do was guide the small escape pod toward the strange green planet below. The landing wasn't smooth. His pod hit trees, skidded through dirt, and finally stopped near a wide river. Smoke rose around him, and his hands shook, but he was alive, for now. He stepped out and looked around. The sky was soft purple. The air felt heavy but breathable. Tall trees with blue leaves surrounded him. Strange sounds came from deep in the forest. But he didn't see anything moving. He needed to fix the pod or call for help. But the damage was too much. The signal array was gone. He was a lone dot as he started walking toward the river. Something shimmered in the air. In a blink, he was surrounded by tall, armored figures. They had smooth skin and shades of silver and violet, sharp eyes, and weapons glowing with quiet energy. Their armor didn't look heavy, but it gave off a sense of power. They moved with perfect control. Before he could speak, one of them raised a hand. "Do not run. You are the first male we've seen into 100 years. Luke froze. They moved. Quickly, he was lifted into a floating transport, and soon, he was flying over fields, shining towers, and glowing lakes. Everything looked advanced, clean, and strange. The people he saw were all female, different sizes, different colors, but no males anywhere, and all of them stared at him with wide eyes, as if he was something unreal. He was taken to a large palace that shined under the twin suns. Inside, a long hall led to a tall throne where a woman sat. She wore no crown, but her presence felt strong. Her eyes were deep like oceans, and her voice was calm and clear. "You are human," she said, "and your arrival has changed everything." Luke tried to keep calm. "I didn't mean to crash here. I just need help, a way to send a message back home." The queen nodded slowly. "We will help you, but you must understand, your presence is rare. We lost all our males generations ago to a sickness. Our kind has survived, but not without struggle. We believe no male of any race could match us, until now." He blinked. "Match you?" She rose from the throne and walked toward him. She was tall, graceful, and her face showed wisdom and deep sadness. "Your biology is compatible. Our scientists are certain. You could help restore what we lost." He took a step back, nervous. "Are you saying?" "I'm not forcing you," she said gently. "But know this, if you choose to stay, you will not be just a guest. You will be seen as a key to our future, and I, as queen, have the duty to protect and guide that future." He couldn't speak. It was too much to take in. She looked at him kindly. "Rest for now. Food and care will be provided. No one will harm you, but soon others will want to see you. Not all will be kind." With a wave of her hand, guards led him to a quiet chamber with smooth walls, soft light, and clean clothes set out for him. He sat on the edge of the bed and tried to breathe. What just happened? He wasn't special. He was just a low-level pilot. He had no powers, no training for this. He only wanted to get home. But now, he was in the middle of something much bigger. A planet with no males. A queen who spoke of duty and survival, and eyes watching him as if he was the last spark in a dying fire. That night, as he lay under a soft blanket, he heard soft music echo through the halls and the hum of energy outside the window. He closed his eyes, unsure of what tomorrow would bring. He didn't know it yet, but the moment he crashed, the path of this alien empire began to change forever the next morning. Luke woke up to a soft knock. A tall woman with silver-blue skin stood outside his room. She wore a long robe with golden designs and bowed slightly. "I am Alira," she said. "The queen sent me to guide you today." Luke followed her through long hallways filled with glowing plants and smooth, curved walls. Everything looked calm, but he could feel eyes watching him. Many alien women paused to stare. Whispering quietly as he passed, they stopped at a balcony, where the queen waited, looking out over the city. Her long dark hair flowed in the wind, and her face looked peaceful, yet tired. You slept well? She asked without turning. Yes. Luke said softly. Thank you for the room. She turned to face him. Good. Today you will see more of our world. Not everything is as calm as it seems. She led him to a wide garden where floating platforms showed images from their history. He saw pictures of families, cities, and smiling faces until the pictures turned darker. Sickness spread, ships burned, and crowds wept. That was the day we lost them. The queen said, our males couldn't survive the sickness, none of them, and even now, we still don't know where it came from. Luke stared at the images. You kept going. That's strong. We had no choice, she said. But over time, the people lost hope. Scientists worked to find a way to continue, but every plan failed. Now, with you here, they believe a new path is open. Luke didn't know what to say. He felt the weight in her voice. They returned to the palace, where the queen called a meeting with her council. Luke sat beside her as a group of high-ranking women entered. Some looked curious, others looked angry. One of them, a sharp-faced woman with bright violet eyes, spoke first. This human is dangerous. We don't know his mind, his plans. How can we trust him? Another nodded. Our people have survived without males. Why change that now? This could break the balance. The queen raised her hand. This is not about power. It is about survival. The world is changing, and we must adapt. The human has done nothing wrong. He came here by accident, yet his presence may be a gift. Luke sat quietly. He didn't feel like a gift. He felt like a stranger in a storm. After the meeting, the queen took him to a quiet room filled with old books and floating symbols. Do not worry about their words, she said. They are afraid of losing control, afraid of change. Luke looked at her. Are you afraid? She smiled gently. Yes, but not of you. I'm afraid of time. Our people cannot hold on much longer. He thought for a moment. What do you want from me, really? The queen looked him in the eyes. I want you to understand us. Not just help. Not just stay. I want you to know who we are, our hopes, our pain, and our dreams. She handed him a glowing tablet. This holds stories from our people. Read them when you can. I believe they will speak to you. That night, Luke sat in his room and read one of the stories. It was about a young scientist who tried to save her brother from the sickness. She failed, but she kept trying, even after he was gone. The story ended with her planting a tree in his name. Luke closed the tablet and stared at the stars outside his window. These people had lost so much, yet they still moved forward. He wasn't sure what he could do. He wasn't sure he was ready to be part of something this big. But for the first time, he wanted to try. In another part of the palace, the woman with violet eyes met with a group of shadowed figures. He is too close to the queen. She whispered, if she bonds with him, we lose everything. We must act soon. They nodded, eyes hard. Something dangerous was building, and Luke didn't even know it. Days passed, and Luke started learning more about the queen's world. Each morning, Alira met him and guided him through new areas of the palace. She showed him the training halls, the gardens, and the healing chambers. Alien women worked in silence, moving with purpose and grace. They always stared at him with wide eyes, some with wonder, others with caution. They've only heard stories of males. Alira explained, you're the first real one they've seen in their lifetime. Sometimes. Luke walked through the city with guards beside him. The people watched him from windows and rooftops. A few even bowed, though he didn't know why. It felt strange, like he didn't belong, yet was still part of something he didn't understand. One afternoon, the queen invited him to a private meal in the garden. The sky above was calm, and a cool breeze moved through the tall flowers. You've learned much in a short time, the queen said, sitting across from him. I'm still trying. Luke answered, this place is so different from Earth. Do you miss it? He paused. Sometimes, but back home, I was just a small name on a long list of explorers. Here, I'm not sure what I am. The queen looked at him kindly. You're a symbol of hope, but more than that, you're a person. I want you to find your place, not just for us, but for yourself. He nodded slowly. "Thank you." As they ate, he noticed her smile was softer than before. She wasn't just a queen here, she was someone who had carried a heavy burden for too long. He saw the lines of worry near her eyes, the way her hands sometimes trembled when she thought no one was looking. Later, the queen brought him to the royal library, a grand place filled with glowing shelves and memory crystals. She picked one and placed it in a reader. A soft light formed into moving images. "This was my father," she said. "He ruled before me. He died with the others. But he always told me that leadership means protecting even those who disagree with you." Luke watched the image. The man looked proud, kind, strong. "I think he'd like you," the queen said quietly. They shared a moment of silence, and then the queen left him with the crystal. Luke stayed long after she left, watching old images of the past, learning about the people and the loss they had faced. But elsewhere in the palace, things were shifting. In a secret chamber beneath the council hall, the violet-eyed woman High Advisor Nair met with several others. Their faces were cold, their voices sharp. "The queen grows closer to him," Nair said. "If this continues, she will name him as her bonded one. We cannot allow that. What will you do?" One asked. "Send a warning. Nothing deadly. Just enough to show he is not welcome." The next morning, Luke went for a walk in the lower garden with 2 guards. As they crossed a small bridge, an explosion blasted the path ahead. The guards pulled him back, weapons drawn. Smoke filled the air. "Someone tried to hurt you," one guard said. Luke's heart pounded. This wasn't just fear anymore. It was real danger. He was rushed back to the palace, where the queen waited, her face pale with anger. "Who did this?" Luke asked. "I don't know yet," she said. "But someone wants to stop what you represent. Me being here. Yes, some fear change. Some fear what they can't control." She took a step closer. "But I will not let anyone harm you. You are under my protection." That night, the queen stood alone on her balcony, watching the stars. She thought of the past, of her father, and of the heavy choices ahead. In his room, Luke stared at the ceiling. He had come here by accident, but things had changed. He wasn't just a visitor anymore. He was part of something bigger, something that might change this world forever. And now, he had to decide if he would stand with them or walk away before it was too late. The days grew tense after the explosion. Luke could feel it in the air. Something was shifting, something dangerous. The queen, though calm on the outside, seemed more distant, lost in her thoughts. She still met with him daily, guiding him through her world. But there was a coldness in her eyes he hadn't seen before. Ira, the queen's trusted advisor, was more cautious too. She no longer smiled at Luke the way she had in the beginning. Instead, her eyes narrowed, always watching him as if he were a threat. One afternoon, Luke found himself in the palace gardens again. But this time, it wasn't the queen who came. To meet him it was Alira. "Come with me," Alira said, her voice low but firm. She didn't ask. She ordered. Luke followed, unsure of what was happening. They walked through the garden, where colorful flowers bloomed around them, hiding the tension in the air. Alira led him into a small, private courtyard behind the palace, far from the usual paths. "I need you to understand," she began, her eyes locking with his. "The queen's choice may not be the best. We've lived without males for so long. We don't need them to survive." "I know," Luke said softly. "But I'm not just a male. You're an answer," she interrupted, stepping closer. "But not the only answer. I've seen the queen grow weaker. She listens to her heart instead of what's best for our people. The queen's love for you, it blinds her. But she's trying to save her people," Luke said, his voice steady. I'm just here." Alira sighed, shaking her head. "That's the problem. You're here, and they all think you're the solution. But there are those who believe you're a mistake." Luke didn't know what to say. The walls around the garden felt like they were closing in. Before he could speak, Alira turned and walked back toward the palace, not waiting for him to follow. The next day, the queen summoned Luke to her chambers. Her face was pale, her expression heavy. When he entered, she stood by the window, looking out over the city, her eyes distant. "You've been distant," Luke said gently. Is something wrong? She turned slowly to face him. I don't know what to believe anymore, she said quietly. I've seen what others think of you. They don't trust you, Luke, and it's hard for me to ignore their fears. They believe you're here to take something from us, to change our world. Luke stepped forward. I'm not here to take anything. I'm just trying to understand. The Queen walked toward him. They think I'm blinded by what you represent. They believe that by bonding with you, I'm giving up everything we've worked for. But you can't let fear control you, Luke said. Change is always scary, but it doesn't mean it's the wrong choice. She looked at him, her eyes softening. I know, she whispered, but I have to be careful. I've led my people for so long. I can't just risk everything on a feeling. Luke reached out and gently touched her arm. Then let's figure it out together. Later that evening, as Luke walked back to his room, he saw a shadow move quickly across the hallway. He paused, heart pounding. Someone was following him. He turned a corner and found himself face to face with a woman. She was tall, with long dark hair, her eyes hidden behind a veil of silver light. She wasn't one of the guards, but something about her felt dangerous. You're not welcome here, the woman said, her voice cold and harsh. Luke stepped back, raising his hands in surrender. I don't want any trouble. You're a threat. The woman cut him off. And if you stay, you will ruin everything. You have no place here. No place with our queen. Who are you? Luke demanded. The woman smiled, her eyes flashing with cold anger. I am one of many who will stop you. I will protect this world from your kind. Before Luke could react, the woman vanished into the shadows, leaving him standing alone in the hallway. That night, Luke couldn't sleep. He lay in his bed, thinking of the Queen's words, of the explosion, and of the mysterious woman he had just met. Something wasn't right. People were starting to divide, to fear him. He knew the Queen was struggling, torn between her duty to her people and her feelings for him. But could they really survive without change, without the chance for something new? Luke was beginning to realize just how dangerous this place had become. Not because of the Queen or her people, but because of the fear that was taking root in the hearts of the very ones who should protect her. Tomorrow, he would have to make a choice. Stay and fight for something that could save this world, or leave and risk it all. Luke didn't sleep well after his encounter with the mysterious woman. Her warning echoed in his mind. You're a threat. He couldn't shake the feeling that something deeper was happening beneath the surface of this peaceful world. The next day, he was summoned again to the Queen's chambers. This time, her expression was more serious than he had ever seen. There's trouble, she said quietly, her voice steady but filled with concern. The council is divided. Some of them believe you're a danger to our future. They think if I choose you, I'll be giving up everything we've built. Luke felt a tightness in his chest. But we can't go on like this forever. You're trying to save your people. I know, she replied, her eyes searching his face. But every choice carries a cost. I've carried this weight for so long, Luke. Sometimes I wonder if I'm making the right decision. He stepped forward, his hand hovering near hers. You're not alone in this. We'll figure it out, together. She smiled softly, but it didn't reach her eyes. I wish I could believe that. The quiet words hung in the air between them. Then, the moment was broken as the doors opened. Alira stepped in, her face pale, her eyes filled with worry. Your Majesty, Alira said, bowing slightly. There's been another attack. What? The Queen stood quickly, her expression hardening. Where? The city outskirts. A group of rebels have gathered. They've been spotted moving towards the palace. They're led by those who believe the bond with the human is dangerous. Luke's heart raced. The tension he had been feeling all week was finally coming to a head. This wasn't just about politics anymore. It was about survival. I need to speak with them, the Queen said. I'll go myself. No, Luke said quickly. Let me go. If they see me, they might listen. I'm the reason they're angry. I might be able to change their minds. The Queen hesitated, her eyes searching his face. You don't know what you're walking into. I'll be careful, he said firmly. But if you go, they'll see it as a sign of weakness. They need to know that we're united, that we're not afraid. After a long moment, the queen nodded. Very well, but I'm sending guards with you. Luke and a small group of guards set out toward the city outskirts. The walk was tense, the air thick with the uncertainty of what they might find. As they neared the rebel camp, Luke could see the fires in the distance, the shadowy figures of women standing in quiet protest. When they arrived, a few of the rebels stepped forward, their faces hardened, their eyes full of distrust. "You've come to face us," one of them called, her voice sharp with anger. "The queen sends her pet human to speak for her." Luke held up his hands in a peaceful gesture. "I'm not here to fight. I'm here to listen. I know you're afraid. I know you think I'm a threat. But I'm not. I'm just a man trying to find my place in a world that's not mine." The rebel leader stepped forward, her arms crossed. "We've heard your words, but your presence is a lie. You are the reason the queen will give up everything, our freedom, our future. She is blinded by her feelings for you." Luke took a deep breath, looking at each of them. "I understand your fear. You've lost so much. Your people have been through so much pain. But if we don't take the chance to change, to rebuild, then what do? We have left a world stuck in the past." The leader remained silent, her gaze hard. For a long moment, the air was still, thick with tension. Finally, the rebel leader spoke again, her voice softer. "We've never had the chance to make a choice like this before. We don't trust that the queen can lead us without becoming something else, something we can't control." "I'm not asking you to trust me," Luke said. "I'm asking you to trust the future, to trust that we can find a way to move forward together." There was a long silence. Then the rebel leader nodded slowly. "You've spoken well, human. But it's not just your words we fear. It's the power you represent, the queen's love for you." "Love is not a weakness," Luke replied, his voice firm. "It's what makes us strong. It's what keeps us going when everything else feels broken." The rebel leader looked at him for a moment longer before turning to her followers. "This is not over. We will not stop until the queen sees the truth. But for now, we will let you return." Luke nodded, relieved but still unsure of what had truly been achieved. As he turned to leave, he felt the weight of the eyes watching him, the uncertainty in the air. He knew the real battle had only just begun. As he returned to the palace, Luke couldn't shake the feeling that the danger was far from over. The rebellion might have stepped back for now, but it wouldn't be long before it flared up again. And next time, it might be worse. The queen was waiting for him in her chambers, her face still hard but with a glimmer of hope in her eyes. "Did they listen?" she asked. "For now," Luke replied, "but they're scared. They don't know if they can trust the future, and neither do I." The queen's eyes softened. "We all have our doubts, but we must face them together. Whatever happens, I will stand by you." Luke nodded, his heart heavy with the truth of their situation. The future was uncertain, but one thing was clear: they would need each other to survive. The days following the meeting with the rebels felt like a slow burn. Luke couldn't shake the feeling that things were changing around him, shifting in ways he didn't fully understand. The queen had trusted him to help bring peace, but it felt like every decision was a step closer to disaster. The tension in the palace was thick, and whispers followed him wherever he went. The rebels hadn't fully backed down, and there were still many who opposed the queen's bond with him. One afternoon, Alira approached him in the palace gardens. Her expression was colder than usual, and she didn't speak right away. Luke looked at her, his heart sinking at the sight of her sharp eyes. "You're growing too close to her," Alira said after a moment, her voice firm but not unkind. "I'm not trying to cause trouble," Luke replied. "I just want to help." "Help?" she scoffed, shaking her head. "You're not helping. You're becoming part of the problem. The queen has already made her decision, but many of us see it as a weakness. A king cannot rule based on feelings. He must be strong. And the queen, by choosing you, is showing weakness." "I don't see it that way," Luke said, standing his ground. "She's doing what she believes is right, and so am I, right?" Alira asked bitterly. "She's willing to risk everything, her people, her throne, everything she's worked for, all for you." Her eyes softened slightly. Don't mistake me, human. I do not hate you. But you are becoming the center of a storm, and I fear it will swallow us all. Luke felt the weight of her words. He couldn't ignore the truth in them, but he also couldn't back down now. The Queen had chosen him, and he had chosen to stand with her. He wasn't about to leave her now, not when everything was on the line. The next evening, the Queen invited Luke to a private dinner in the palace. She looked more tired than usual, the shadows under her eyes deeper. There was a heaviness in the air that neither of them spoke of directly, but both could feel. You've been busy, the Queen said softly as she poured wine into their glasses. Talking to the rebels, trying to change their minds. Luke nodded, taking a sip. They're scared. They don't trust change, but I think we can find a way forward. We have to. The Queen smiled faintly. I wish it were that simple. She took a deep breath, her fingers playing with the edge of her cup. Do you ever wonder what would have happened if I had made a different choice? If I hadn't chosen you? Luke looked at her, his heart aching at the sadness in her voice. I don't know, but I do know that right now, we're in this together, and that's all that matters. There was a long silence between them, the weight of their situation pressing down on both of them. The Queen looked out the window, her eyes focused on the distant stars. I'm afraid, she whispered, afraid that we're too far gone, that no matter what we do, we'll lose everything. Luke stood and walked over to her, placing a hand on her shoulder. You're not alone. I'll stand by you, no matter what happens. She turned to face him, her eyes filled with uncertainty and hope. And if they come for us, if they try to take everything we've built, we'll face it together. Luke said, his voice steady. We've already come this far. We can make it through. The Queen smiled at him, though it was faint. Together, she repeated, as if testing the word on her tongue. Together. The following morning, Luke was summoned to the council hall. The Queen had called a meeting to discuss the growing unrest. As Luke walked through the long hallways, he could feel the eyes of the palace on him, each glance full of judgment and fear. When he entered the council hall, the room fell silent. The Queen was seated at the head of the table, her face hard as stone. The council members sat in rows, their expressions varying from wary to hostile. We are at a crossroads, the Queen began, her voice calm but firm. The rebellion has not stopped. Our people are divided, and we are at risk of losing everything. One of the council members, a tall woman with piercing green eyes, spoke up. Your bond with the human is a mistake. We are losing our strength, our unity. We cannot afford to be led by emotions. The Queen must lead with strength, not with love. Luke's heart sank at her words. It was clear that not all of the council supported the Queen's choice. Some were even calling for her to step down. You cannot tell me how to lead, the Queen said sharply. I have led this people through the darkest times. I will not abandon the choices I've made, but your choice is weakening us. Another council member said, you risk everything for this human. Do you not see that? Luke stepped forward, his voice steady. I didn't ask to be here. I didn't ask for any of this. But I'm here because I believe in the future of this world, and I believe that together we can overcome this. The room was quiet for a long time. The council members exchanged glances, but no one spoke. This council will vote, the Queen said finally, her voice filled with determination. We will decide together what comes next. The days leading up to the council's decision felt like a storm was brewing. The very moment seemed filled with uncertainty, and Luke couldn't escape the weight of the tension that hung in the air. The Queen had summoned him to her chambers more than once, but each time, they spoke little. Her mind was filled with the difficult choices ahead, and Luke couldn't help but feel the distance between them grow. Still, he remained by her side. He had come this far, and he wasn't going to walk away now. One evening, as they walked through the palace gardens together, the Queen stopped by a glowing fountain, the soft hum of the water filling the silence. Her eyes looked tired, but there was a strength in her voice when she spoke. Luke, tomorrow, the council will make their decision. I don't know what will happen, but I want you to know that, whatever they decide, I don't regret choosing you. His heart ached at her words, and I don't regret choosing to stay. he said softly, his hand brushing against hers. I never expected any of this, but now it feels like the right thing. The queen smiled faintly, but there was sadness in her eyes. I wish I could. So I feel the same certainty, but there are so many who believe I'm making a mistake. So many who believe our future should not be tied to a human. Luke's jaw tightened. I can't change who I am, and I can't change what you've chosen. But I do believe in the future. I believe we can make it through, no matter what. I hope you're right, she whispered. I truly do. The next day, the council gathered in the grand hall. The air was thick with tension, and every member seemed to carry the weight of the decision to come. Luke stood beside the queen, his presence a quiet defiance to those who would see him gone. The tall woman with green eyes, the one who had spoken against the queen's choice, stood at the front. She didn't speak right away, but her glare seemed to say everything. She turned to the queen. We have heard your words, your majesty, but it is clear that you have let your emotions cloud your judgment. Your bond with this human is a weakness. If we allow this to continue, we will lose everything we have fought for. Luke stepped forward, his voice steady but firm. I didn't come here to take anything from you. I came because I believe we all have the chance to rebuild, to find a way forward. This world doesn't have to be divided, not between us, not between the past and the future. The council members exchanged glances. Some looked thoughtful, others still angry. The queen looked to Luke, her eyes full of uncertainty, but also something strong or hope. I believe in this world, Luke continued. I believe in what it can become, and I believe that together we can create something that works for all of us. The green-eyed woman stepped forward again, her voice sharp. We have lost too much already. We cannot afford to lose our strength, our unity. I will not stand by and watch our future fall apart because of a decision based on feelings. The queen stood tall, her voice cold with authority. This is not just about feelings. It's about survival. Our people have been without hope for too long. We have to change. We have to find a way to move forward. The room was silent as the council members looked at each other. Some seemed swayed by the queen's words, while others still held strong to their belief that she was making a mistake. Finally, the queen raised her hand. The decision has been made. Luke's heart raced as the council members leaned forward, waiting for the queen's final words. We will move forward. Together, the queen declared, I choose the future. I choose hope. And I choose to stand with Luke. The green-eyed woman's face twisted with anger, but she remained silent. The room erupted in murmurs, some of agreement, some of disbelief. Luke looked at the queen, his heart swelling with pride and relief. Thank you, he whispered. She smiled at him, her eyes filled with both joy and exhaustion. Thank you for believing in us and me. In the days that followed, the palace began to shift. The queen's decision to stand by Luke did not come without challenges. Those who had opposed her continued to resist, but the queen's strength, backed by her love for her people and her trust in Luke, began to unite them. The rebellion, though not completely gone, slowly began to lose its force. Luke spent his days learning from the queen, understanding more about the history of her people, their struggles, and their hopes for the future. He had become more than just an outsider. He had become a part of something much larger. As the weeks passed, the bond between Luke and the queen grew stronger. They were no longer just two individuals standing on opposite sides of a divide. They were partners, fighting for a future that could be better for everyone. And though there were still obstacles ahead, Luke knew that they were no longer fighting alone. One evening, as they stood on the balcony overlooking the city, the queen turned to Luke, her hand resting gently on his arm. This is just the beginning, she said softly, her voice filled with hope. But I believe in us, and in the future we can build. Luke looked at her, his heart full. Together, he said, his voice steady and sure. Together. This was the beginning of a new world. The queen and Luke had faced the darkness, the fear, and the uncertainty. Now, they would face the future with hope, knowing that whatever came, they would face it together.